What happened this year? In Every Year Exposed. January 1st, 2004. The world wakes up to a crisp digital dawn, unaware that the tectonic and social foundations of the 21st century are about to be permanently rearranged. The air carries the sharp scent of laser printer toner and the faint, salty tang of a distant ocean, a sensory foreshadowing of a year defined by the upload and the inundation. There is a deceptive calm in the atmosphere. The information monopoly is still held by the evening news anchors, but in a dormitory in Massachusetts, a social blueprint is being coded that will eventually dissolve the boundary between the private and the public self. Two major shadows loom over the calendar. In the Middle East, the insurgency is no longer a localized friction, but a blooming forest fire, while in the deep trenches of the Indian Ocean, a subduction zone is silent, but fully loaded with a prehistoric energy. 2004 is the year of the great visibility. It is the moment the hidden becomes broadcast. Before the final frost of December, the Spirit Rover will touch down on Mars, and the Boxing Day tsunami will rewrite the geography of the human heart. The countdown has moved from a crawl to a terminal velocity. We are no longer just witnessing history, we are about to be engulfed by it. The planetary alignment of 2004 is a study in unchecked leverage and social incubation. We are living in the definitive pre-social media inflection. This is the year the Facebook is launched in February, an event that begins as a niche directory but represents the birth of algorithmic identity. We are still using the Motorola Razr, the peak of the clamshell aesthetic, but the desire for a constant stream is already beginning to itch. The tech level is characterized by the transition from analog storage to cloud dreams, where the debut of Gmail in April, offering an unthinkable 1 GB of storage, proves that our digital footprints are about to become permanent. Economically, the world is a hemorrhaging giant fueled by subprime optimism. Global house prices are surging at double-digit rates, and the Federal Reserve begins a cycle of interest rate hikes to cool a fever that many refuse to admit is lethal. Oil prices hit a record high of $50 a barrel in October, a psychological barrier that signals the end of cheap energy. The cultural mood is glossy and paranoid. We are distracted by the Razzie-winning Catwoman and the Friends series finale, yet we are haunted by the 24-hour news cycle of the War on Terror, which has turned the airport and the inbox into theaters of surveillance. Geopolitically, the world is the expanding map. The European Union undergoes its largest single expansion in history, welcoming 10 new members and shifting the Iron Curtain further into the archives of the past. Meanwhile, China's GDP growth clocks in at a staggering 10%, solidifying its role as the world's factory. We are a civilization of constant upgrades, living in a state of high-definition friction, while the fundamental pillars of our financial security and our tectonic plates are being stress-tested to the point of structural failure. We are connected, leveraged, and finally realizing that the stability of the 90s was a limited-time offer. The spark that changes the evolutionary trajectory of the species occurs in a Harvard dorm room, delivered with a blue and white interface that redefines the circle of trust. February 4, 2004. Mark Zuckerberg launches the Facebook. This is the moment the internet stops being a place you go and starts being a person you are. This single event makes the rest of the year's shift toward data-driven politics and surveillance capitalism inevitable. It was the big bang of the modern ego. It triggers a cycle of digital enclosure. In a year that would be remembered for geopolitical stalemates, the birth of the Facebook was the algorithm that became the atmosphere. This is the spark because it proved that human connection could be indexed and monetized. It was the moment the traditional social contract was digitized, creating a world where every interaction is a data point. This event led to the destruction of the analog community and the birth of the engagement-driven world we inhabit in today. The shockwaves lead to a global psychological shift that we are still unraveling. Why does this matter? Because it gave us the digital mirror. It proved that visibility was a new currency. The event leads to a new era of micro-targeting and a fundamental shift in how we perceive friendship. This is the moment the world's social map was homogenized. The world is no longer a series of conversations, it is a series of profiles. And 2004 is the year the selfie began its long, slow ascent to the center of the universe. While the servers are humming in Cambridge, the political architecture of the world is being redrawn by a surgical expansion and a hard power mandate. In May, the European Union welcomes 10 new nations, including Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. This is the continental integration. It represents the final burial of the Cold War division, a moment of geopolitical optimism that promises a united Europe from the Atlantic to the borders of Russia. It is the largest single expansion in the EU's history, adding 75 million people to the bloc. In the West, the 2004 U.S. presidential election serves as a referendum on the Long War. George W. Bush secures a second term over John Kerry, a victory built on security anxiety and the moral majority. This is the polarization point. It represents a hardening of the American resolve in Iraq and Afghanistan, ensuring that the doctrine of preemption will remain the global script for the foreseeable future. The election is the first to heavily utilize viral emails and bloggers as a secondary news source, signaling the death of the traditional kingmake in Asia. The Orange Revolution in Ukraine ignites in November following a rigged election, a democratic fever that sees the streets of Kyiv flooded with protesters. 2004 is a year of defiance and consolidation, from the expansion in Brussels to the inauguration in Washington, and the tents in Independence Square. The global leadership is being forced to account for a new bipolarity. It is a world where democratic expansion is meeting the friction of reality. The political moves of 2004 are about legacy and lines. The leaders of the world are staking their claims in a landscape that is becoming increasingly unstable. The social energy of 2004 is a censorship scandal and a reality TV saturation. In February, the Super Bowl halftime show features the Nipplegate wardrobe malfunction. This is the moral panic of the digital age. It triggers a massive FCC crackdown and leads to the creation of YouTube. The following year, because Jawed Karim couldn't find the clip online. We are a society obsessed with the unscripted moment. We watch The Apprentice and American Idol, turning competitiveness into the universal value. But the social fabric is also being rethreaded by the Google IPO. In August, Google goes public, turning search into sovereignty. This is the institutionalization of curiosity. We are seeing the death of the library as the search bar becomes the primary engine of human knowledge. Pop culture meets social change as Mean Girls and The Passion of the Christ dominate the box office, proving that the world is split between teen nihilism and deep conviction. Culturally, we are in the era of the Livestrong wristband and the UGG boot. We are obsessed with identity brands. We are the generation of the iPod 4th gen, the realization that 1,000 songs in your pocket is now normal. Socially, 2004 is the year the blog was named Word of the Year by Merriam-Webster, proving that personal testimony is the new authority. From the Red Sox breaking the curse that proved hope can survive history to the death of Ronald Reagan, that proved nostalgia is a potent political tool, we use the early social web to find meaning in the noise. How did the average person interact with the world? Through a browser that was becoming an extension of the eye. By the spring of 2004, the military and moral friction of the century reaches a point of absolute combustion. April 2004, the Abu Ghraib torture scandal is exposed through digital photographs. This is the visual escalation that proves digital accountability is the new rule of war. The image of the hooded man becomes the visual autopsy of the moral high ground. This escalation extends far beyond the prison walls. It is a total tactical shift in the Middle East. The First Battle of Fallujah ignites, turning the Iraq War from a regime change into a grinding insurgency. Simultaneously, the Madrid train bombings in March kill 191 people, a surgical terror that proves asymmetric warfare can influence European elections and force a withdrawal of troops. This asymmetric escalation pits satellite intelligence against low-tech resistance, a friction point that proves occupation is not stability. In the United Kingdom, the social escalation reaches a friction point with the Hunting Act, leading to protests in Parliament, a cultural escalation that proves tradition is being hunted by modern legislation. The foundations of global trust are eroding as intelligence failures regarding WMDs are officially admitted. We are witnessing a multi-front erosion. The volatility of the dollar, the violation of the Human Rights Conventions, and the decay of the intelligence consensus are all converging. The global system is no longer just shaking, it is burning. We are living through a systemic friction where the old rules, the Geneva Convention, the UN, and the truth are being revealed as malleable. In the shadow of the smoke, the highs of 2004 represent the stunning ambition of the human intellect. This is the year the Spirit and Opportunity rovers touched down on Mars. It is a technological miracle, the moment we move from looking at the red planet to driving on it. It is a reminder that while we are burning the cities of Earth, we are naming the craters of Mars. We are moving from speculating on life to drilling for evidence of past water. But the wins are also biological and infrastructural. In 2004, the Millau Viaduct in France is opened, the tallest bridge in the world. It is a structural victory for human engineering, the moment we realize that architecture can still soar above the clouds. We are also seeing the technological leap of Spaceship One, which completes the first private manned spaceflight, signaling the birth of the commercial space era. In the world of human achievement, 2004 sees the Athens Olympics, a Homeric win for the species as the Games return to their birthplace. Michael Phelps wins 6 gold medals, a biological win that redefines the limits of fluid dynamics. We see human resilience in the global eradication of polio reaching its final strongholds, a medical win that proves our ability to cure can eventually outpace our ability to kill. Technologically, the win is the Firefox browser. The launch of Firefox 1.0 in 2004 proves that the species is ready to break the Microsoft monopoly and embrace open-source liberty. We are building direct pipes between freedom and access. Even the environmental high is found in the Kyoto Protocol receiving Russian ratification. 2004 is the year the Global Climate Agreement finally becomes binding law, proving the species is finally planning for the greenhouse. We can drive on Mars, we can fly private rockets, and we can bridge the tallest valleys. But can this accord survive humanity's greed? The inventory of human and natural cost in 2004 records a sequence of tectonic betrayals and societal collapses that revealed the absolute vulnerability of the global coastal civilization. December 26, 2004, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake strikes off the coast of Sumatra, triggering the Indian Ocean tsunami. This is the absolute rupture. In a single morning, 230,000 lives are erased by a wall of water that travels across 14 countries. It is a reminder that nature is the final arbiter of human sovereignty. The inventory expands with the Beslan school siege in September, a societal collapse where 334 people, mostly children, are killed during a hostage crisis in Russia. For 3 days, the gymnasium serves as a monument to cruelty as terrorism targets the innocent in their classroom. Simultaneously, the Darfur genocide is officially labeled by the U.S. State Department, an asymmetric massacre where Janjaweed militias systematically erase ethnic groups in Sudan. These are not merely headlines. They are systemic scars that prove our modern diplomacy is dangerously impotent. The human cost manifests in the Haiti floods and Hurricane Jeanne, proving that poverty is a lethal conductor for weather. In the social sector, the death of Yasser Arafat sees the end of an era of Palestinian identity, a cultural mourning for a man who was both a freedom fighter and a pariah. From the Al-Qaeda attacks in Saudi Arabia that targeted the energy heart of the world, to the victims of the 2004 avian flu, H5N1, outbreaks that became the faces of a looming pandemic. It is the part of the script where the modern world is revealed to be a series of unprotected intersections. Whether it is a beach in Thailand, a school in Russia, or a desert in Sudan, 2004 is the year we realized the safety of the system was an unprotected lie. 2004 represents the death of the analog gaze regarding privacy, geography, and authority. This was the year the professional gatekeeper was officially decoupled from the event. What died in 2004 was the privacy of the unrecorded life. Between the launch of the Facebook and the Abu Ghraib digital photographs, the world realized that to exist is to be observed. We moved from a world where history was written by winners to a world where history is recorded by everyone with a digital camera and a broadband connection. What was born this year was the architecture of the feed. The birth of Gmail and the Google IPO proved that data-driven logic would become the new sovereign power. 2004 mattered because it was the year the future stopped being a project of the state and started being a project of the platform. It proved that a social network could bankrupt a traditional community, a search engine could become a social architect, and a tectonic plate could recalibrate the global humanitarian conscience in a single morning. We interpret 2004 as the year the human operating system was silently reinstalled. The financial friction, the digital convergence, and the geopolitical fragmentation were no longer predictions. They were the new baseline. 2004 is the year we stopped watching the world and started indexing the world. It was the year of the grand interface. where the physical body and the digital profile finally merged into one unified record. How does 2004 dictate your life right now? Look at your digital pulse. The social algorithms and data harvesting you use to navigate your identity are the direct descendants of the Facebook launch in 2004. The private space economy, where lunar mining is a standard strategy, is the legacy of the Spaceship One flight 22 years ago. The political reality of today, the deep polarization and the institutional skepticism, is a direct result of the 2004 US election and the Abu Ghraib exposure. We live in a world where digital accountability is the primary weapon, a system that was template-built by the blogger revolution and the viral evidence of that year. The climate policy of today is the legacy of the Kyoto Protocol ratification that began in the atmospheric commitment of 2004. We live in a world where open-source software and big tech sovereignty are the only operating systems, a reality that was validated by the Firefox and Google IPO of that year. Even your disaster warning systems, the global tsunami buoys, and the real-time seismic alerts were hardwired by the Boxing Day tragedy. You aren't just watching history. You are living in the inundation and the interface that was initiated in 2004. The coders of that year are the history of today, but their link is still running our world. 2004 was the year the surface was broken. We found ice on Mars, but we lost our safety on the coast. We built the first social network, but we watched old wars burn in the desert. It was a year of the interface and the inundation, a chapter where humanity looked at the screen and decided to connect. The archive is closing on the year of Facebook and the tsunami, but the vault is just opening on the year video would truly stream. If this year surprised you, challenged what you thought you knew, or reminded you of something you lived through, leave a comment with what it meant to you. If this series helps you understand the present through the past, consider liking the video. And if you want every year exposed, subscribe to the channel. History isn't just something we watch, it's something we interpret, and something many of us lived through. Another year exposed is coming soon. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.